Well, welcome once again, friends, to First Baptist Church, Grand Cayman. Thank you for joining us for our ongoing daily devotions entitled Ready, Steady, Go with God. And today, once more, we're returning to the book of Colossians and to chapter 1, and let me read some verses from verse 15 through to 17. Jesus is the firstborn over all creation. For in him all things were created, things in heaven and on earth, visible and invisible, whether thrones or powers or rulers or authorities, all things have been created through him and for him. He is before all things, and in him all things hold together. Is this world spinning out of control? Are we headed for total chaos? In the middle of this huge COVID-19 pandemic, it would be very easy to assume that we are on a road to who knows where, chaos and meltdown. How encouraging, therefore, are these words before us today? Who really does have the whole world in his hands? Taken out of context, the first phrase in our reading, Jesus as the firstborn over all creation, has led some to believe that Jesus is a created being. He's part of this side of reality. But you notice that the Bible doesn't say first created over all creation. The Greek language had another couple of words it could so easily have used to express that idea. No, the word firstborn, a word that was found in the Old Testament, is one loaded with significance. For example, in Exodus 4, verse 22, Israel was called God's firstborn, though it certainly wasn't the first created nation. Or the Davidic king, the coming deliverer, likewise was called, in Psalm 89:27, the firstborn, as firstborn had very little increasingly to do with one's birth. Rather, it asserted rank, status, priority, the idea of your being an heir, an inheritor. And just as the uncreated Father stands before and above and beyond all his creation, so the uncreated Son stands in that same position too. He is the eternal Son of God. There was never a time when he was not. In verse 16, Paul tells us that Jesus, as the Son, is the Creator. And simply note how comprehensive that creatorial role is. Jesus is at once the starting point and the goal of creation. Why is there a created universe in the first place? What's it here for? And astonishingly, we're told, it's here for Christ. This was a massive and reassuring reminder for the church at Colossae, threatened by dark powers and potentially riddled with fear based on superstition and occultic practices, that Jesus was Lord. Paul reminds us that when we belong to Christ, we are ultimately safe. This is our Father's world, our Saviour's creation. Paul's point is that whatever powers there may be, visible or invisible, and some commentators like to think these are not just spiritual powers, but the power structures of our day in society, multinationals, global conglomerates, economic forces, international politics, international warmongers for that matter, whatever structures of power there may be, Jesus Christ ultimately is Lord of them all. There's nothing outside the majestic reign and sway of Christ. So, what holds this whole cosmos, this universe that we're part of, a tiny part of, together? Again, verse 17 reminds us that it's in Jesus that the whole of creation holds together. It is Jesus who prevents the cosmos collapsing into a chaos. So how dare we think that Jesus is just for Christians? No, he's the Lord, the magnificent ruler of the whole universe. Everything we can see, however far our telescopes can penetrate, however small our microscopes can discover, and everything we cannot see, however profound and mysterious, Jesus Christ is Lord of all. There's nothing outside the majestic reign and sway of Christ. So we take comfort and strength as we rest today in this truth. Whether political wrangling, international terrorism, family struggles, personal finances, our daily routines, or the unexpected situations we will face today, Jesus Christ is Lord of all. Go with that assurance and His presence in your heart and life today. Amen.